you've got 80 to 100k to spend on a car that embodies the spirit of performance motoring, that's about more than just facts and figures and 0 to 100 times, that's about the complete package, the experience, then this, the E92 M3, is the car for you. This is destined to be a future classic.
But before we get to any of that, we need to start with a little bit of history. The E92 was made between 2007 and 2013, and it's the only M3 ever to have a V8 up front, and that's exactly what makes it very, very special. You see, BMW hated the idea of adding turbos back then, which is why they started with the M5's 10-cylinder motor, chopped off a couple, tinkered a little bit, and they were left with this 4-litre beauty. And of course, every hero needs a villain, and that's exactly what the C63 was. Both were big, fat, stonking German rear-wheel drive V8s, but their spirit, their essence, and the way that they delivered on the promise of performance was very, very different. This M3 was much maligned in the past for not being as grunty as the Merc or as edgy or raucous as the E46 predecessor, but today we can confidently look back and say that those detractors, well, they missed the point entirely. Alright, let's not mess around. That engine. That sweet, screaming engine. It doesn't reach its peak of 309 kilowatts until 8,300 RPM. And the noise, the noise is the best thing about the car. The theatre, the drama of the 4-litre V8 once you push past 4,000 RPM. It's just so different to a C63 or other V8s. Yes, it's punchy when the gut's deep and guttural, but it's also an advanced mechanical sound, even when you're idling, that sounds sophisticated. Think of it this way, it's Barry White versus Beyonce. When you're not driving it like you stole it, the M3 is surprisingly civilised. But then stomp on the gas and it transforms into a focused, snarling sports car ready for the track. And the thing is, it's going to be more capable than about 99% of the people that get in it, and the traction control and all the other electronics, well, they'll make sure that you don't end up in a hedge when you get a little bit too confident.
The double clutch gearbox is very, very quick in terms of its responsiveness on both down and up shifts.
Okay, I'll admit, I got caught up in the M3's drama a little bit. There are minor quibbles which are typical of earlier DCT boxes. Some inconsistency in shift responses depending on the revs, and the standstill response times, well, they're not always ideal when you want to launch quickly, but overall they're just niggles. It is a great gearbox, and while it'll never replace a manual, if you do use the M3 as a daily driver, which you absolutely can, you'll definitely want the DCT.
There's just such an intimate sense of feeling where you are on the road and the amount of grip that you have and the amount that remains.
Even at pedestrian speeds, you'll appreciate how balanced the chassis is. And it's a confluence of things. Direct and well-weighted steering, suspension that's, unless you're in bone-jarring M mode, the right trade-off between handling and ride comfort, and there's just no body roll either. It's joyous.
In the white, with the competition pack wheels and the black carbon fibre roof, it looks the absolute business. It's differentiated enough from the 3 Series Coupe of its day to actually look like a different car with a different level of masculinity. And I think it's better looking than the new M4, but you be the judge. You know when you're sitting in a cafe and you see a muffin and you think, nah, but then there's a cherry on top? That snout bump is like the biggest cherry on top. In terms of the interior, well, it's classic BMW in here, so you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. In terms of the tech, well, you don't have a heads-up display and a few of the other nice toys that you get in the new M4, but overall, I wouldn't worry too much. Day to day, you're not going to be left wanting. It's perfectly up to date in here in terms of basic functionality. And finally, the design is really focused around being a driver's car. I'd say that a theme that comes out from sitting in here is the way in which the driver is encouraged to do exactly what they want to do, drive. would like a cup holder closer to me though for a coffee. So here's the thing, if you're in the market for a sports car and you've got 80 to 100k, you've got the RS3, the AMG A45, the new Boxster and Cayman, a second-hand C63 and a second-hand one of these, you're going to be faced with some pretty tough choices. But the thing about those 4-cylinder and 5-cylinder cars, the way that the future is coming upon us with turbos, more torque, slightly less power, they don't make you feel quite the same way that a car like this does. This car makes you feel like you're in a baby supercar, not in a high performance scalpel. Don't get me wrong, I love driving those cars. The AMG A45 is thrilling in a way that you can't talk to primary school kids about. But this thing, in terms of an average day, on an average road, average weather, will make you feel like those cars can't. No, I don't like Beyonce.
It's so warm on my bum.
I'm going to say beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and you shouldn't listen to me anyway because I thought Lindsay Lohan was cute in Mean Girls.
Yeah.